Hi everybody. Oh, I'm excited today. I do love doing this. I'm going to do a quick video on the SVG files for the Mystery of the Missing Acorn with Sherlock Holmes, which I think is just the most fabulous name ever. So I've been asked a lot on free scan and cut classes, so I thought we'd do it on here as well, how you create an aperture and then you create the matte layers for that aperture. So I thought that's what we'd do in this class. And then later on, I've got something really exciting to show you, which is super happy about. Right. So first things first, we're going to use the reflection file that is on the USB, so the cutting file of the reflection, to get the acorn. All right. So I want to make an acorn aperture because I think that's really cute. So let me show you how to do that bit. So I've got my USB in here with my files on. I'm going to go to retrieve from the USB and into the files. And we're going to go to nested acorn. We want the reflection cuts because we want the outside edge, and we'll go into the first one. So I've got my acorns there and I want to choose the largest one. So I press OK and put it on a workable mat. First thing I need to do is get rid of that rectangle because right now all those acorns are underneath that rectangle. That's how it sees it. So first thing we're going to do is put that in the bin because we don't need that. And this is why we don't group our reflections, because if we did, you'd have to send it into Canvas to ungroup it to send it back. So I'm going to use that one and I'm going to get rid of these. All right, so we're going to multiple select part of the mat. I've selected one that I want to get rid of. So when I drag over here and press OK, the rest of them will highlight and I can pop all of those in the bin in one go. That doesn't remove them off your USB, that just removes them from the screen. Now this one I want to have on a different angle. So I'm going to go to Object Edit and I'm going to rotate it. So let's rotate it by 90 degrees first, and then we can decide whereabouts, what kind of, I quite like it there actually. I think that's quite nice. So that's the angle that I want my acorn at. Now I need to add a square around the outside of it so that it cuts out of the, as a card front, if you like. So I'm going to press OK. We're going to keep going. And we're going to add, and we're going to go to our basic shapes. And I can't, it's really interesting, isn't it? You know, we've been talking about scan and cut a lot recently. We're doing different things on TV. And people always say to me all the time, what's the difference between scan and cut and Cricut? Well, first of all, you've got a scanner built in a scan and cut. And secondly, it's all the content that's inside your machine is of huge value. And we forget that. You know, on this one, there's over 1,300 shapes and fonts and quilt blocks. We forget that. We just automatically go, oh, I'll just select a basic shape. Can't do that with all of them. It's really interesting. Anyway, back to this. So I'm going on to resize. I'm actually going to put it back to inches because when I'm making cards, I work in inches. I flip between the two, which I don't know why my brain does it, but it does. So let's make this let's do a 7-inch square card, shall we? Because I quite like that size. Means you can put a little bit more detail on the front and still get it in an 8x8 envelope because it gives you that little bit of wiggle room. So I need to put that in the middle of there. So we're going to press OK. We're going to multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, go to your directional arrow buttons and align it centrally vertically and centrally horizontally. Press OK and group it together. So Object, Edit and Group. So I've now got what will be my card front. So let's cut that out first of all. And then we'll go on and we'll make the matte layer that goes on top of that because it's super simple. And we do go into Canvas Workspace, but you don't need to know Canvas Workspace. You just need to follow this video. So you don't need to know it all. You just need to follow what I do. So I'm just going to press OK and keep going until I get to Please Select and Cut. I'm just going to check my settings because sometimes I do play around with my settings like this. And I'm just going to check that half cut isn't on. All right, so we're good to go. And then we'll press Start. And while we're doing that, I want to talk to you about something exciting that's coming up. So, because I can't do simple things, I made this book as a finished sample. And it's really cool. So it's The Mystery of the Missing Acorn, Sherlock Holmes. And when you open it up, you've got all this 3D project that goes inside this tunnel book. And I sat there and I made it and I ummed and ahed and I thought, you know what, this would be a great online class. I know we had the festival, but if you can't get to Doncaster, or maybe you live in Doncaster, we're not even in Doncaster, we're in Derbyshire. That's because we've been talking about crafting this morning. Honestly, I have to laugh at myself now because it's all getting a little bit scary. So if you can't get to Derbyshire, maybe you live in America, maybe you live in South Africa, maybe you live in Australia, who knows? But you can't get to the academy, we're going to start doing more online classes. So when Squarelock Homes goes on sale on Saturday, it will be $27.99 for the download of these files. Okay, so you'll download the files and you pop it onto a blank USB, $27.99, or you can pay and get access to a pre-filmed full-day workshop learning how to make this start to finish. Okay, so I will pre-cut some of the little reflections, but the actual basics of the book, how you make it, how you weld shapes to the aperture, all that kind of thing, how you make the frame, how you do the vinyl, all of it. And you can get all of that for $49.99. So an extra £22 will get you a full day online class with me with your scan and cut, which I think is brilliant value for money. So while that was cutting, I just wanted to mention that to you because it might be something that you're interested in, and it'll be great fun because you'll learn loads and they're transferable skills. So you can do it with this collection, but you can do it with any two Red Robins collection. So that might be something that you want to think about. Right, okay, so it's cut this now. So I've now got my Acorn Aperture, which is fabulous, right there, okay? So let's unload that mat because we're going to need to cut something else in a minute. Right, so I've got that file now and that file is grouped. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to go to Edit, Object Edit and ungroup it. Now when you've ungrouped something, when you've had it multiple selected, I need to tap the screen to release the shapes. So I'm now going to send this into Canvas Workspace. So I'm going to press OK and keep going till I get to Save. And I'm going to save it into the cloud. Save was successful, so I can press OK. Right, so we're going to go into Canvas Workspace now. Now this applies, there's two different ways of doing this. If you are an SDX user, I'm going to show you that way, and then I'm going to show you the CM way. SDX users can also do the CM way because, to be quite honest, it's quicker. All right, so let's go into New and let's select from My Projects the file that we've just saved. So we've got this here now. Okay, so we want to make the acorn bigger and the square smaller. If you are working on an SDX, you can select both of those, go to Edit and divide it. And that will then punch that acorn through that square. Then when you download that back to your machine, you can create with your offset function a 2mm inward offset line, which will make the square smaller and will automatically make the acorn bigger. Okay, so it's up to you. Either way, you've got to come into Canvas because just resizing the acorn will not give you a perfect distance all the way around. It might make it a little bit higher there, a little bit less here. So you need an offset, not just a resize. Okay, so that's important. So I'll show you that when we download it back to the machine. However, if we undo that, the quickest way I think to do it is to click on the square, go up to Edit at the top, go to your offset function here and create a 2mm inward offset and delete the original and then press OK. So that's made the square smaller. We then click on this, the square is on top of the acorn. So we go to Edit and in order, we send it to the back. So that nothing changes on your screen, but now it means that I can get hold of that acorn. So this time we want to go to Edit and we want to create a 2mm outward offset and delete the original and press OK. So now I've got the perfect mat layer. So I'm going to group that and download it. Okay, so I'm going to download that and I'm going to download it to my machine. Okay, perfect. We've got that now. And you can do that as many times as you want, going inward, you know, with whatever measurement of increment you want. So it doesn't have to be 2 mil, it could be 10 mil. If you want it to be, it doesn't matter. Right, so now what I've got is one of the scenes from the Minecraft Studio USB. So I'm going to press this down firmly onto here, printed it out, and I've printed it onto a 240 pure print. And I've printed it on 240 because it's going to go on the top of the card. It's not, we're not building up decoupage layers here where you see that white edge. And I quite like it to be a little bit more supportive. So I can save this file, but I've already got it in the cloud now. So I'm going to press OK. So I'm now going to retrieve from the cloud. Just thinking about it. And there's the file. So next thing we're going to do is scan in our piece of paper, our artwork. And this is where the scan and cut for me comes into its own, because now I'm not looking at a computer screen and going, right, that's 3 inches across and 4 inches down. And if I position it there, I might get that satchel in that's at the bottom of the tree. You can see it. So it's simple. So I'm going to scan from here, and I'm going to press start, and then I can see the picture, you can see the picture, and we can all decide where we want to put it. That's one small reason that you need a scanner in a cutting machine, because it really does make a difference. And it is interesting when I get asked, you know, why this over Cricut? There's so many reasons. That's not being disrespectful to Cricut at all, because I know Cricut users love it. But for me, who wants to get really creative, and for us that are on that scan and cut journey, you'll start to understand the difference as you go through. Right, so I can make the background darker just by clicking on the spanner, going to background and clicking the darker icon, so you can see it and I can see it. And then I can just drag this down. So I do want the satchel in the bottom left-hand corner there. I also want some of the leaves. So I know that there's the tree trunk there, but I've also got some of the leaves in. They're going to come into that aperture a little bit, which I quite like. I might move it down a little bit more so that I could get a character stood here and there's still enough ground for it to stand on. So when I'm happy with that, I'm just going to press please select and cut, and it will cut that for me. Now that will then fit perfectly over the aperture that we started with. And that's how you can get those perfect mats and layers. I think what some people have been doing is resizing it to make it bigger or smaller rather than creating an offset. And there's a big difference. If you want absolute perfection in your mats and layers, you use an offset line. And this is really exciting, I think, because now we're using the reflection files for something different. And also, if you're doing this with dies, it's much more tricky to line up. I find it really difficult to line it up with dies. I know Stephanie's a whiz at it because she's a whiz with dies. But for me, this is a really quick, simple way of doing it. So now we take this off here, and you'll see now when I position this down, I've got a perfect, let me line it up properly and then you can see it. I'll lift it up a minute. So I've got a perfect 2mm border all the way around the outside of the picture, but I've also got a perfect 2mm border on the inside of the acorn. So then if I bring in another piece of card, so let's say this is my card blank at the back, like this, and I put this behind, I can then take the inside bit, this bit that's left over, and I can pop that back behind here. So if I put that there, I can then position this so that the picture continues right the way through, but you've got a frame around this piece of artwork, and then you can really build your picture inside here, but it continues right the way through. And I think that's a really, really clever trick. And people go, have you done that? And only you will know. Unless you watch this video. But we're all about sharing, aren't we, here at I Like Crafts? So that's your little preview, if you like, of Squarelock Homes. And don't forget, full day online class. We are going to pre-record it so that you can watch it back time and time and time again and pause it and rewind it and do all the rest. But it will be fabulous, and I will also teach you about using vinyl. I'll teach you about how to create the concertina. I know we've done it before, but we can always redo it, and then welding all your little pieces to make this fabulous 3-dimensional project. Details will be in the description, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye. If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button. Subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below and click the bell icon to receive notifications of all our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video or click here to see more videos like this one.